Due to the recent success of my Thomas and Friends video, it's very clear to me that I struck a chord with my audience. And I am really happy, too, because I have a lot to say on this little blue tank engine who defined my childhood. I'm gonna admit something. That video was just a test video to see what I could get away with in terms of content. I'm still trying to find my footing. But to see it blow up and become so popular is kind of endearing to me because it means that one of the things I really like to talk about is relevant to you guys. So I will talk about it. And I'm going to be talking about Thomas and Friends characters who didn't really get a chance to shine. By that I mean they either appeared in like one season or in one era and never again. Now, for the rules of this video, we're going to be talking about characters who appeared in the TV series. So, no Railway series characters, and no characters who appeared exclusively in merchandise or other pieces of media. Only the ones who appeared in the television series. That also means no fan characters. So, yeah. Also, I'm going to just include this rule here. This one is mainly about the classic series characters. I might bring up CGI series characters who never got a chance to shine, but that may be another video entirely, since it seems like every character from that series never really got a chance to shine, because Thomas outshined them all. Besides, the classic characters are just a lot more interesting to talk about. Seriously, when was the last time you were talking about Thomas the Tank Engine to your friends, and Hugo popped up in that conversation? Yeah, I bet some of you don't even know who Hugo is, and I don't blame you. So yeah, we're gonna go in season order, starting from seasons 1 all the way up to season 5. Now, it may not get very busy at first, but trust me, once we reach season 5, there's gonna be a lot of characters. This video was inspired by another Bumbles McBumbles video on one-off fighting game characters, so I highly suggest you check that video out as well. So these are kind of just one-shot Thomas characters. Now for season 1, I was going to talk about somebody like Terrence the Tractor or Miss Kindly, but both of them reappeared eventually. Like, Mrs. Kindly appeared in season 5, and Terrence the Tractor even appeared in CGI. So, for the most part, there are no forgotten season 1 characters. Season 2, on the other hand, has some interesting characters. A lot of characters were going to be mentioned, but for the most part, they all returned. Bill and Ben and Donald and Douglas. However, there are two characters who never really appeared outside of this season. At least not too much. The first one is Trevor. I know Trevor appeared in CGI, but he was not even a minor character in that one. He just kind of existed. While it was great to see Trevor again, I just wish there was an entire episode based off of him. Considering how few episodes there are of Trevor in the first place. I would love to have seen Trevor and Edward interact again. I mean, it just makes sense. I don't get why CGI never had a Trevor and Edward episode. It's just confusing. I don't have much to say on Trevor since he technically reappeared again, but he had a lot of missed potential. Boko, on the other hand, is a character that people have wanted to see return for years. Ever since his final appearance in CGI. No, season 5 of Thomas and Friends. Yes, he appeared for one scene and that was it in season 5. And then he never really appeared again after that. Boko has a lot of potential as being a fellow mentor for Edward, helping to keep Bill and Ben in line. And considering how Bill and Ben returned, it would have been a perfect opportunity to bring Boko back. Boko doesn't really use much in the Railway series or the TV series. He's just kind of there. But the fact that he's based off of such an interesting engine, well, long story short, for this type of locomotive, Boko's basis was that of an engine that would break down constantly. And yet, that's not even a slight part of him in the show. So maybe an episode focusing on Boko's own teething problems would have been very interesting. And if not that, then maybe just another episode where Boko makes a cameo appearance to help keep Bill and Ben in line. It just seems like Boko was a big piece of missed potential. And believe it or not, we're already done with the season 2 characters. Season 2 didn't really introduce that many, at least that many that didn't return. For the most part, they all did, except for Boko. However, the next ones are definitely more of one. You want to talk characters who got a really short end of an already short stick? Look no further than the city of Churro in the season 3 episode Gordon and the Famous Visitor. Behold, city of Churro. Don't get used to him because this is all you'll see of him. He doesn't even have a face on his prop, which is a little strange. Of course, he's always faced away from the camera, so we can't see that. But apparently, this prop was never even meant to move. This whole thing just seems so weird to me. Because in the original Railway series, there was a part where City of Churro was talking to Duck that gave Duck his inflated ego. He had full voice lines and everything. But here, he's just shown talking to the engines, and we never see him actually talking to them. I was going to put Flying Scotsman here as well, but Flying Scotsman returned, which makes this even stranger because now we have one really famous engine and an engine that was also really famous but just never appeared again. It was strange. But what's even weirder is the fact that both of these two engines were known for going 100 miles an hour in real life. And it's heavily debated on which one was actually the first one to do so. And I mean heavily debated to this very day. That is just a perfect episode. Maybe Churro and Scotsman make a return in one of these episodes, and then Duck and Gordon get into an argument on which one was the first engine to go 100 miles an hour, with Gordon taking Scotsman's side and Duck taking Churro's side. Honestly, that sounds like a really awesome episode, and now I want someone to adapt that in a CGI style. I just want that now. And I'm really sad that City of Churro never appeared again, so we never got to see this. So yeah, City of Churro was our next engine. Let's move on. Now we come to the more infamous ones, starting with Duke. Duke was actually planned to be in CGI once. Unlike all the other characters who either did get into CGI or were thought about but never actually were considered. No, Duke was considered to be put into CGI twice, but he never was put in there. He was supposed to be put in the railway museum in Alstead Castle, which, wow, we were robbed. To see Duke interact with his Grace once again would have been amazing. Oh, and while we're on the topic of Duke, I might as well bring up Smudger. Another character who only appeared once, and only once, in this very episode we're watching right now. Smudger was meant to be the replacement for Stanley from the Railway series. For two main reasons. One, they didn't have a Stanley prop and it was just much easier to repaint Rheneas green and give him a new face. And two, because Stanley was a smoker. Yes, I'm not joking. There is canonically a Thomas character who smokes. And he was also American. Make with that information as you will. But this scene right here is the last time we ever see Smudger. Ever. Duke and Smudger returning would be amazing. And if not Smudger, then definitely Duke. Because Duke only got 4 episodes where he actually did anything. So to have him come back and get potentially more episodes interacting with Sir Handel and Peter Sam would be spectacular. However, now that the series has gone in a completely different direction, it is very unlikely that we'll ever see Duke again. Which is terribly sad. Because Duke had a whole lot of potential. And so did Smudger. But Smudger will never appear again either. And if he does, it will probably not be Smudger, but the actual Railway series character he's based off of, Stanley. Which there's nothing wrong with that, except they may need to remove the cigarette. That's all I'm saying. Okay, here we have another character who we were completely robbed of. George, the Steamroller. Believe it or not, he was another character who was supposed to appear in the CGI series. For only one scene, mind you. But it was going to be a great scene because Do you know that one cringy season 23 episode, Free the Roads, where Bulgy does a thing? Yeah, George was supposed to appear in that. Look, I don't really like season 23, but the fact that George was supposed to appear and interact with Bulgy, we were robbed again. Twice in the same video. Because George and Bulgy interacting with each other? Come on, man. That is just. That's like a match made in heaven right there. George and Bulgy interacting with each other. Probably talking about how they would take down the railway. Probably scheming and then falling flat on their faces. In fact, you I'm just surprised that George even gets mentioned at all sometimes. Also, it should be noted that George was supposed to appear in Thomas and the Magic Railroad, but that plan got scrapped because George's prop wasn't completed. Plus, George didn't really do much in that movie, so they just completely scrapped him. George is just one of those characters who needed more love. Also, if we got another episode where he interacted with Sir Handel, okay, now I actually just thought of a great episode idea. Like, where they divided and conquered, where they both schemed to take down the railway in certain areas. Like how Bulgy would take revenge on Duck for humiliating him, and George would take revenge on Sir Handel for the exact same reason. Oh man, now I really want those episodes to happen. Oh, this episode's making me really sad now. Knowing that the perfect season 23 episode was right in arm's reach, but was cut at the very last second. Though, if any of you talented creators out there want to make an episode, I'll give you that one for free. Here's the last one for this video. I realized this video was taking a little while, so I decided to end it here. But I decided to end on a high note. If you want me to make a part 2, then I will. But this high note is Stepney. Stepney the Bluebell Engine is a character who doesn't really appear much, but whenever he does, it's a treat. The show treats it like it's a big deal, and it kind of is because Stepney is a real life character. No, he's a real life steam engine. You can go and visit him in England. Stepney is a really cool character, and I really wish that he was used a little more often. I do like his debut episode, Rusty to the Rescue, even though it really doesn't make any realistic sense. And I really like his second episode, Thomas and Stepney, where Stepney doesn't really step on Thomas at all, and yet Thomas feels threatened just by Stepney's very presence. Oh man. Thomas, you are such an egomaniac. But, yeah. I was gonna mention Caroline here, but honestly, she doesn't really do much, even in her episodes. Stepney, on the other hand, is just a character who was thought of to be in CGI, but never managed to get there. I just thought of another episode idea based off of the real life Stepney as he is right now. It's kind of a sad idea, but what if Thomas or Percy or another engine like Duck goes to visit Stepney on the Bluebell Railway, but sees that he's currently indisposed. He cannot move because he hasn't gotten his overhaul. And because of that, he's a stationary vehicle. And he longs to have another run again on the island of Sodor, which could go one of two ways. One, Thomas or another character could give him the parts that he needs to have his overhaul, and Stepney is seen running once again and becomes a reoccurring character. Or if they wanted to write Stepney out of the show, they could do it another way. They could have Stepney be placed on a flatbed and having one of the characters push him around Sodor one last time. I know that's really sad, but the proper episodes were just in arm's reach once again, and they just decided not to. Well, it's better than the way he was written out before, where Stepney was just coated in pink sugar for some reason. Anyway, that is my second Thomas video. Thank you so much for watching and getting me up to 8 subscribers. I really appreciate this. So, comment down below. Who would you want to return to Thomas and Friends if Thomas and Friends were to return back to the way it was? Well, not completely. It would be like CGI. But, if Thomas and Friends were to return, which characters would you like to see come back? Do you think Is there a character that you would like to see that I didn't mention for one reason or another? Please let me know. Also, please let me know one other thing. Is pink sugar a real thing? That's been bothering me for years. Is pink sugar real? Please let me know that, if nothing else. Anyway, I'm the Gamer Nerd, and rest in peace, George the Steamroller.